What's up guys, Brett here, and today I'm going to be talking about 5 things that you should not do if you want to be financially free. And by that I mean being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want. Now there are plenty of videos out there telling you what you should do, but I wanted to twist the topic on its head today and think about it from another perspective, because it's not always about what you should do. Sometimes there are things that you can stop doing or things that you shouldn't do, and it will have the same impact. It'll be just as effective. The 5 things that I'm going to talk about include being uninformed about money, not playing it too safe, not taking on too much debt to go to university, not being stingy with yourself, I can't hold up 4 fingers, and being obsessive. So many of us coast through life in what society believes is an acceptable existence. We get a 9-to-5 job and we spend half of our income on rent or on a mortgage. Now this isn't meant to be a motivational video. I am going to talk about some steps that you can actually take to work towards being financially free, or whatever you want to call it. So let's get into it. Alright, so first up then, the first thing that you should not be doing is being uninformed about finances, about money. Sounds obvious, right? How can we expect to be free to do whatever we want with our time when we don't even understand how to manage our money properly? Alright, so this is the most important point that I'm going to make today, because all of the ones that are going to follow require you to be money smart, to be able to implement them into your decision making. Educating yourself about money, about finance, will pay off in so many aspects of your life and for the rest of your life as well. Not understanding money is why so many people struggle financially, because they make uninformed decisions, or even worse, they make no decision at all. Hence the title of this video, because financial paralysis really is real. For example, I remember back when I had no idea what interest at the bank even meant. I thought it was beyond my comprehension to understand it, so I never did, I never tried. And because of that, I kept all of my money, well at least all of my savings, in the worst possible savings account, and had a 0.01% interest rate on that account, which I know because I've recently been making some videos which require me going back and checking all my old accounts, and you can check those out on the channel. Anyway, so I was in a relatively decent position financially in my early 20s. I had a respectable job that would be socially acceptable, earning £50,000 before bonuses, which is around $70,000. However, because I was one of those people who was so uninformed about money back in the day, I did absolutely nothing with it. Literally, I just left it in my 0.01% interest rate account for a number of years, which at the time I actually thought was the right thing to do, because I thought I was saving up for a mortgage, to buy a house, or whatever. And I'm sure if I could go back 7 years, knowing what I know now, I could definitely have doubled, maybe tripled my net worth. So what can we do to be more informed about money? The best way is by breaking it down into sizable chunks. And sure, the world of finance is a pretty complex one, but we don't all need to be able to sit down for 1 hour and talk to a hedge fund manager about their fundamental analysis. In fact, it's best to leave that sort of stuff up to them. We just want to sort of break it down into bite-sized chunks, into the basics, and just learn the basics. So don't think that you need to know everything, because you definitely do not. And actually, listening to Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors ever, would be a really good place to start, because he breaks down all of his points really clearly and he's a joy to listen to. Now, taking action today and actually going ahead and learning just a few of the basic principles of investing, of finance, will put you so far ahead of the pack, because most people don't even bother to do that. They don't even bother to learn 1 or 2 points of basic finance, and those are the people who really struggle. So here's a few principles that I've written down to consider trying out. Number 1, get a good credit score. Make sure that you pay off all of your bills in full every month. And if you don't already have a credit card, get one, spend on it, and make sure that you pay it off every month. Number 2, another one here, is spend less than you earn. Try to save at least 30% of your income, and that will put you in a good stead for then being financially more independent in the future. Build up an emergency fund. An emergency fund is 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses, so that if anything goes wrong, you've got that financial backing to support you for 3 to 6 months. And another one here, the last one, start investing the rest of your money as soon as possible. You can check out my other videos on this. I made a few videos about investing and specific apps that you can use to invest and how to do it for beginners. So yeah, just get your money invested as soon as possible. Don't leave it in a standard savings account like I did for a number of years or whatever. Okay, so the next thing not to do is don't play it too safe. Playing it too safe will only guarantee you one thing, and that's that you won't achieve your dreams. Now, it can be easy to fall for this one, it definitely can. Jeff Bezos, between 1980 and 2000, actually went from working in McDonald's to being worth $6 billion. Fast forward another 20 years, he's worth about £200 billion, and he's the richest man on the planet. Now, obviously, Jeff Bezos is an extreme example, but you get where I'm coming from. I speak about risk profiling for your investments in my other videos, and the same principles apply here, because the younger you are, pretty much anyway, the younger you are, the more risks you can afford to take, because the more opportunity you'll have in the future if it goes wrong. Except the problem is most of us take zero risk, and that's because we're programmed to be risk averse. Whether it's due to fear of failure, laziness, or something else. And what that means is that if you start taking a few more risks, you're going to be in the minority. But being in the minority is literally always a good thing because it means that there's less competition. Jumping into any risky opportunity, even if you think it's a good investment, isn't necessarily the right thing to do. For example, if you just received a large inheritance, let's just say, and you watched a video on YouTube of someone telling you to invest in Bitcoin, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should do it. And in that specific example, it's definitely not the right thing to do. There are so many ways that you can diversify your portfolio, investing in different things, not just Bitcoin. I would say that investing in Bitcoin is something that you might want to do. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but you might want to put 5% of your investment into Bitcoin, and the rest you can diversify into index funds, into the S&P 500. You buy some dividend funds and some other stocks as well. You can buy some bonds. There's so many things that you can do to diversify your portfolio. Don't put it all into Bitcoin. Things to think about when considering taking risks that could significantly impact your life include: don't overestimate the probability that it will go wrong. Be realistic, because it's way too easy to tell yourself that it's not going to work. Secondly, don't worry too much about the consequences if it goes wrong, because if it does go wrong, at least you tried and you had the courage, the bravery to do it. And most of the time, the people who have that courage, who have that bravery to take these risks and take on new opportunities, they're going to land on their feet. They're going to be perfectly fine. And lastly, just don't underestimate your ability to just hustle. So many of us, maybe taking that leap actually will propel you into that person that you never knew that you could be. When you take on all of that responsibility and you feel it, you're going to hustle, trust me. And hustling is something that we can all do. It's just about taking the risk and starting. The next thing then not to do if you want to live freely is don't take on a huge student loan to go to university, to go to college. Most people who do this take on a £45,000 loan, which is a $60,000 loan, and they take 10 years to pay it off. Now this one's controversial, I know, so just let me clarify that unless you're a self-learner, a motivated self-learner, this one might not work for you. I acknowledge that those who have degrees on average might earn more money, but I believe that that's because those who go to university are usually better, more driven self-learners than those who don't. So I'm assuming that anyone watching this video is a driven individual on a mission for financial freedom, and therefore you can't put yourself in the category of the people who are who don't go to university, because a lot of those people are sadly less fortunate or just downright lazy. So of course they're going to earn less money. And there's more to this than just not having that debt over your head, because I'm certain that if you're going to make it in life, having that university degree is not going to play a part at all. If you're going to make it, you're going to make it. Period. I'll admit that I did go to university, and at the time I didn't know any better. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I did what everyone else was doing. I took a course at university. And I'll admit as well that after university I graduated with a first class and I got a decent job. However, getting that first class degree isn't what got me the job, and I know that because at my job interview I hadn't even graduated yet, and only after working for that company for 1 month I actually got my degree. I told my boss that I got a first class. He just didn't care. And anyway, I now do something completely different. I now follow my passion. So I consider those 7 or 8 years that I spent at university and working for that company in the industry that I studied a complete distraction. And if I could have those 7 years back, I'd take it any day. I do appreciate that the world needs, for example, doctors, and doctors need training. So some professions definitely do need to go to university. I completely understand that. The whole point that I'm trying to make in this video is that if you're a self-driven individual, don't necessarily just go to university because everyone else is doing it, get yourself in a huge amount of debt. Instead, invest some of that money into online courses, into other sort of learning, and just don't go follow the flow. Don't do what the society thinks is the right thing to do. It's not. But to be honest, so few of us know what we want to actually do when we're at the age of deciding whether or not we want to go to university. And actually, I think it's crazy how much responsibility is put on us as 17, 18-year-olds to decide the rest of our lives when we're so young and so naive. But hey, it is what it is. Okay, moving on to something a little bit less controversial now, and that is to not be stingy with yourself. What I mean here is that we need to educate ourselves, we need to invest in ourselves. And although I said we don't necessarily need to go to university, we do need to educate and invest in ourselves. Of course we do. And there are a few ways of doing that. Number 1 is by developing our skills. Number 2 is by exploring our creative abilities. And number 3 is by prioritizing our health alongside our career, alongside our business goals. So things to consider when developing our skills include hiring a business coach, signing up to online courses. Here I'm talking about like Skillshare, a website like Skillshare, taking individual courses from trusted online personalities, anyone that you follow on YouTube that you know puts all of their time and effort into their YouTube channel. And these guys can sometimes be good resources who actually create courses themselves, and they can be trusted as well. Now, there are so many free online courses available these days. You don't necessarily need to pay for them because there's so much free content out there. But the point I'm trying to make is to invest in yourself. And if it's not with money, invest your time into learning. In terms of exploring our creative abilities, this is where you can unlock so much more than if you don't. And so many of us don't tap into our creative abilities at all. Now, creativity has a place in all industries, no matter what anyone says, because having that creativity is what can separate us further from the pack. For example, I think Puma and Pelé in the 1980, was it? The 1970 World Cup, Puma actually paid $120,000 to Pelé to, at the start of the match, have the referee pause the game. He bent down, he tied his knot on his boot, and at that moment, the whole world saw Pelé tying up his Puma football boot. And that's obviously a masterclass of marketing back in the day. And actually, Brazil went on to win that World Cup with Pelé being their main man. And obviously, we should also invest in our health. Studies have found that investing in our health, investing in our well-being has actually made people more productive and more open-minded, which leads to success. So the takeaway message here is don't be afraid to spend money to grow. It's the best investment that you can make. But first, just check whether you can learn it for free. Okay, so today's last point then is to stop trying to achieve any sort of balance in your life. You need to be obsessed with whatever project you're working on. You need to obsess over your project every minute that you're awake, because that's how all successful people achieve their goals. I myself used to think that having a good work-life balance was the most important thing. Getting home at 6 o'clock, leaving work at 5 o'clock was the most important thing to get home to spend time with my family. But that's when I worked for someone else. And now that I work for myself and I do a lot more of my own projects, trust me, the work-life balance has gone completely out of the window. I'm constantly thinking about how I can improve what I'm doing in every aspect of my online businesses, my YouTube channel as well, and everything that I'm doing. And in reality, if you're not 100% committed to your goals, there's only one thing for sure, and that's that you're only going to achieve mediocre results. And that's just the way it is, because chances are there's going to be someone else out there in the same space as you trying to do the same thing that's working at it harder than you are. This doesn't mean that you can't work on more than one project or on different projects, but it probably suggests that you should only work on one at the start, or at least at the beginning, until you make significant progress, and then that business becomes more passive, or you're able to employ employees to sort of help you run it. Having people around you that understand you and support your obsession is also really important. This includes your friends, your peers, and your family. Because the thing is, you nor they will mind your unbalanced lifestyle at all if they realize your dreams, your goals, and they're helping you to achieve it. And also, there is never a perfect time to start anything. For example, this YouTube channel. I started this YouTube channel a year ago when moving out of my house in London. And at the time I thought, because I was moving house, you know, I would not have a regular place to film my videos. I wouldn't have a studio that I could set up and every background would be the same. I could sort of get that resonation with my subscribers. So I thought, well, it would have been easier anyway to not do it. But I didn't. I decided to get some gear that I could take around with me. I could travel with it. And then wherever I am, I'll just every week sit down, film a video. I'm not too worried about the studio space, because at the end of the day, if I'm too worried about that, I'm not filming anything, I'm not creating anything, and my channel's just going to be... All right then guys, other things that you can do or look into doing to achieve or help you achieve financial freedom are: number one, choosing the right friends. Friends add a lot of value to our life, so be careful who you spend your time around. Number two, stop caring what other people think about you. It doesn't matter. And number three, take responsibility for every single thing you do. I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope it made you think about where you stand in terms of your journey to working towards financial freedom. And guys, just remember that financial paralysis is real, but you don't need to suffer from it. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. If you're not already subscribed, then please do consider subscribing. Give this video a like, drop me a comment down below if you have any questions, and yeah, see you next time.